Hello, welcome to the Geek Philosophers, and as you obviously see here, we're going to be talking about Star Wars.
What?
So we have Judge Bookman, Muddled Medic, Berserker Bard, Lady in the Hat, and Space Cadet.
Are you sure you've come to the right review?
You may have missed the memo about that.
No, it's sarcasm.
Oh.
So,
What's the sign? We need a sign here, honestly.
We're not getting a sarcasm sign.
maybe could you always take your hat off when you're going to be sarcastic?
It would
or
be
something?
helpful.
I think that would be too
Fine,
alarming
yeah.
for the audience.
Okay,
Anyway.
we're reviewing Star Wars.
Okay.
Actually, no, because I'm being ironic. We're actually looking at the newest episode of Doctor Who with Jodie Whittaker as the new Doctor.
So
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
It was, I've said this once already, but I'll happily say it again. It was not an easy ride to get to this point where we've got a female Doctor Who, or Doctor, I should say. And certainly was the person who had it hardest was Jodie Whittaker herself. I think there was a lot of not very nice things, I think is the nice way to put it, that were...
A lot of bloody
You mean
nonsense.
a lot of
I know.
sexism and...
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Lots of negative things that were being said and put onto the show, which has never, it's never been that kind of show. So, or it shouldn't have been anyway, we should say. So, but we got to this point. It happened. We watched it, and now we're going to talk
It's
about it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I'd give away
Well,
the
that's a
ending
bit
of our review.
Well, yeah, that's a
but-
very simplified
yeah.
ending. But let's start. So we get a very just immediately into the action, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Straight into Sheffield. Big shout out to Sheffield.
Looks quite nice over there. I may go.
I've never been.
It's
Yeah.
but never disparage the beauty of the north. Beautiful place.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
wonderful.
So we're straight to Sheffield. We're straight into meeting our new friends, not companions, friends.
I kind of like that, though.
Yeah,
It's-
I'm not against the fact. Oh, let's be honest, they're all friends. And
Yeah.
if you look at all the previous companions, the Doctor never said, well, except for the first Doctor, I think.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually name these people, these are my companions.
Yeah.
The second Doctor says, these are my friends. The third Doctor says, well, assistant more than anything.
Yeah.
But the fourth Doctor says friends, so does the fifth, the sixth, and so on.
The Daleks don't, though. The Daleks,
Daleks
the
don't do
Doctor
friends.
must have his companion.
That's why they never took off in America, because the Daleks couldn't break the friends formula.
Oh.
Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, I think it's nice. I think it suggests a more kind of equal relationship, and I think having three companions, friends. I think friend is a more appropriate.
There is that.
It's just
There's
very
always that
cool.
danger of the three.
Musketeers.
The three.
Little pigs.
Oh, it's a long day. The three friends in the TARDIS, along with the Doctor, because you've got to write for four characters. Then you've got to have the central focus on the Doctor, as tends to be the way. You've then got to have the focus for whatever B story on
I
one or two.
disagree
of the
with that.
companions.
I'd say the main focus shouldn't be on the Doctor because the Doctor is always the traveller and witnessing the other worlds. So I think the focus should be less on the Doctor and more on the worlds and the people interacting with it rather than the Doctor.
Whichever
Well,
way-
that's how it should be balanced. Yes.
But
Whichever
I
way-
disagree again. I think that the
Perfectly.
focus should be on the companions, the friends, because they are
Yes.
our view into the
Well,
Doctor's world.
absolutely.
Can we
That's-
all agree that this episode handled all these elements very well?
Well, it
Oh,
did
yes.
because, funnily enough, they were all these three things. They all had these three new characters. Do you know what they all had? Character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were actually.
Remember what that was
I-
like in Doctor Who?
I almost cried during this episode.
It was
That does not happen.
tear-inducing, especially the end.
I was thinking
Spoilers.
about it.
We're not going to talk about the ending
Yeah.
until we're actually at the end.
I think the last time I cried at a film or TV show was Mr. Holmes, which
Ooh.
interestingly I'm writing a review of at the moment. But so yeah, tearful week for me.
So you were saying about how well they handled the dyspraxia thing.
I mean, to be honest, it's pretty rare that you see a TV show, a film, anything just come out straight away and say, look, we have a character who has and I really need to find a way of shortening this list, but chronic illness, disability, or learning disability.
Well, that was
Learning
one of the things that was very, that was very popular in the most recent Power Rangers film because of the autistic.
We're not talking about
presentation.
Power Rangers.
No, I'm just bringing it up as an example of the way how the character of Billy, his autistic spectrum was handled on the film.
And
Which was done quite well.
Which what they shouldn't do is bring something up, say someone's got something, and then never address it again.
Or, even worse, bring something up, say they've got it, and then make the biggest deal in the world about it. And say,
Exactly.
That's basically two different ends of the extreme
Exactly.
It's
spectrum.
like
and
The
that's not
Room
what it
and
is.
what would be another example?
That isn't how, funnily enough, these. That's not how that works, and that's not how they chose not to do that, which I'm pleased.
It is very distracting when they say someone's got this disability or illness, and then they never show any symptoms of that, or they never show that they've got it. And you are constantly thinking, especially if you got the thing, where's the
Where's the thing?
Where's the representation?
representation?
You can't say this is representing the disabled, chronic illness, whatever community, because you've put a label on somebody. One of your
Shout-outs
characters.
don't count as
No,
representation.
it really,
In contrast, Ryan Sinclair, whose character in the episode who does have this practice, seemed to be handled fairly well. It was just mentioned
It
a
was.
couple of times.
Yeah.
It never really.
Yes, and by the end, he
affected
still
them.
had it. It
Yeah.
still affected
It
him.
wasn't gone.
It didn't magically get better. I was a bit worried when I saw him taking his bike back up onto the hill, and I thought, oh, he's going to magically get better because and he didn't. And I was like, cool, real life,
Yes, he
It's
rides
not
a bike.
nice.
It's not. That's the nature of real life in stories, anyway. It's not to write happy endings. It's to write
Satisfying.
Endings.
endings
Yeah.
or satisfactory
Yeah.
endings.
But to me, actually, I don't have many rules in films, whatever. I personally think if you are going to create a world, any world, it doesn't matter how crazy it is. It doesn't matter if there are a million plot holes. It doesn't matter if it's completely unbelievable. But if you make the characters believable, if you make the characters completely 100% realistic, then anything else goes. Like, I don't care about the fact that the doctor managed to make a screwdriver out of some spoons, because I don't care.
We'll get to that.
To be
in a minute.
fair, she did have a load of alien equipment with her in the
That
same
too.
room.
Yeah, I know. I
We'll
know,
get to that
but
in a
still,
minute.
I don't care.
So, shall we go from the beginning of the episode?
Well, no, we have done. Let's talk. Let's move into the characters. Our friends. We've got,
Ryan Sinclair, the dyspraxic, we already talked briefly about.
and we all. And I'm getting to like him as a character. He's the fact that he seems to be able to approach situations with, being able to think of things in alternative ways to other people. That in itself has a huge appeal to me, and I think that's as a character role, and as an element of the character's personality, that's a very appealing trait.
Can I just say that I think this show handles really well the whole principle of minimum departure, which is a little bit what you were talking about, how...
You know the proper names for things.
Yes,
I don't.
basically in storytelling, and technically it's text world theory, but it's that unless you specifically mention that things are different in the world presented in the show or in the book or whatever, people are going to assume it's like our world.
Gravity is gravity, an apple is an apple, and
dyspraxia is handled very well.
Yeah.
It's not just treated as an accessory.
Then we've also got Yasmin Khan, the police officer, who I also very much
yes, because
Yeah.
I think. Yes, she certainly got some development in that first episode, but I think she's got a lot more to come.
I would say all the characters.
To be honest,
They all do, it's true.
one of my concerns during this episode when I was watching it is three people who at the moment show absolutely no interest in going off with the Doctor are meant to be going off with the Doctor at the end of this episode. And I thought, are they going to cram in this sudden, the Doctor suddenly convinces a grieving husband, a grieving grandson, and a police officer who has...
Spoilers.
A
Spoilers for
misplaced
the ending.
Spoilers,
police
whatever.
officer.
She's going to persuade all of them to drop everything and come off with her. And I just thought, no, I don't buy that those characters would do it. But actually, they don't, which actually made me really happy.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
It's a little nod actually to the beginning of Doctor Who back in 1963.
With Barbara and Ian.
Because apart from the Doctor's granddaughter, Susan, the two other companion role characters, Barbara and Ian, they were unwilling passengers for the longest period of time. And in fact, most of their run with the Doctor, up until 1965, they were the focus for them was the Doctor trying to get them back to the time that they left.
And failing because A, he's the Doctor, and B, they needed to extend the run time.
And also because at that time the Doctor didn't know how to fly the TARDIS. He did learn. Anyway, so then we've done our two characters. Now let's move on to Graham. Yes, our ex-bus driver.
Oh,
I liked actually. I wasn't. This was said to me by my father, and he wasn't sure how Bradley Walsh his sort of whole demeanour would fit into the sort of world of Doctor Who, but it's a very real, very minimalised performance, I think, and that comes through the character. He's quite reserved. He's enthusiastic when he needs to be, but he's very guarded when he needs to be, which is how people are.
and it's also going to be. I feel these three characters are going to play off each other brilliantly in lead up because they've all got baggage. Yasmin and Ryan clearly had that history. They went to school together. And Graham is Ryan's adopted father. Well, not grandfather.
Step-grandfather.
He's the step-grandfather. We'll just label it as that.
Yeah.
And
If there is a better version,
and
please
then we
label
get
it down there
to
somewhere.
one of my probably my favourite character in the whole episode, which was Grace.
Great.
Yes.
I think that seems to be the response across the fandom was, what? Spoilers.
Yeah.
She dies.
She dies. But we didn't want her to die because she had such a really nice, enthusiastic energy. And she was a very friendly character. She had a very take charge attitude.
Yeah, I believe you said something about her death yesterday, something?
Yeah, I said, the thing about her death to me is that when humans are told to go away from something dangerous
By the Doctor.
sometimes they don't, and sometimes there are consequences to not doing what the Doctor says.
Exactly.
And this is what we see here. Grace probably didn't need to go and electrocute that thing. It would probably have been fine if she hadn't. The Doctor would have been able to sort it. There would have been
I would agree with that.
another way.
I would buy that.
She died needlessly, if you like.
Heroically.
But heroically, but
Heroic.
needlessly.
Yes,
But
I'll agree to that.
The thing is, that's just so human.
Absolutely.
And
It's a very early on reminder, but it's a simple fact. When people become part of the Doctor's world,
There is things.
there is a massive amount of collateral damage, absolutely massive amount. Even looking just at New Who in general, all of the companions had massive collateral damage from their association with the Doctor. Just take for instance that first small journey with the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, for any of you who don't know, or you should.
And you should
And when he and Rose, played by Billy Piper, again you should know, when they went off and they had a few adventures, saw the end of the world, saw the Gelf, gas-like monsters from another planet, and then they came back, and what had happened, and it's told very, very quickly but very dramatically, is that rather than 12 hours have elapsed between the moment when Rose had joined the Doctor to the moment when she'd arrived back home, it actually had been 12 months. And that she'd been missing, there'd been a police investigation, people had been questioned, Mickey was under suspicion, Jackie Tyler, Rose's mum, had just completely fallen apart because her daughter had disappeared.
And then she slaps the Doctor, which I think was a very good...
Oh no, it's a very deserved reaction, but that right there, in a very short space of time, that just denotes the level of casual damage that can happen to people who end up sort of orbiting the world of the Doctor.
And all things considered, Rose's family got off lightly when we look at what happened to Martha
Well,
Jones.
not really. They moved to a different Earth. They were trapped there. It meant they could never go home. It's a world which is like ours, but not really. Mind you, I wouldn't mind.
IKEA.
I would kill to see Zeppelins flying around casually. I mean, let's be honest, that would be pretty
Yes,
cool.
the Zeppelins will probably kill many other people as well.
Except for all that in business with the Cybermen, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we had that too, though.
shall we get back on topic
I
and
think,
talk about the Doctor a bit?
Yes.
more?
I mean, Berserker Bard's sitting here stroking the dog. Was there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, absolutely.
You put me on the spot here.
You have doing that.
You are on the spot.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah,
Make it
you were
good.
saying
That's what the
about...
lady does.
Yeah, I put people on the spot.
Yeah, okay. Well,
My judge.
you were saying about the earlier Doctors, and I think this new Doctor compares well with Christopher Eccleston's Doctor.
Very much,
And
yes.
I think the introduction, basically just being a traveller, because that's what the Doctor is, and being put in a situation and trying to fix it, because that's what the Doctor does.
Fixes.
Yeah.
Whilst trying to remember who she is in the process, and working out who she is in the process.
And some
Yeah.
people, I'm sure, will
Exactly.
complain about the fact, why didn't the Doctor know that she was the Doctor?
It wouldn't be the first time.
It's not the
happened.
first time. Let's all remember that.
And also, I think she did know she was the Doctor. She just...
Didn't know the name.
Yeah.
To me, it's quite like brain fog, which you get in
Considering
quite a
she
lot of
dropped
writing.
through the top of the train,
Exactly.
from however high up it
It's a
was.
hangover.
It's very understandable.
Yeah.
Like, there have been times when I completely forget words and I've got brain fog and I just cannot think of it.
Yeah.
Most of us
Yeah.
are writers,
Yeah.
and the number of times we've forgotten the simplest words, we've hours spent. Why can't I think of that word? What am I thinking of? The word you're thinking of is
Thesaurus.
about.
Yeah.
That's the word I forgot once. I forgot the word about from my mental dictionary.
Okay, so I mean, Jodie Whittaker, the Doctor has just regenerated, like undone, stuck back together, every cell in her body. I loved her description of it, by the way. I think
The
that
fact
was
that
amazing.
it took so many
But-
tries to get to the word regeneration as well. That
Yeah,
was good.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think she has literally just unstitched her brain and stitched it back together. I think she's allowed a bit of brain fog while it all settles in.
Absolutely.
And you know, we know in the past that she's in the first 12 hours of her regeneration, she's basically still knitting, still stitching back together.
And in fact, we're lucky she wasn't
Yeah.
in the coma for this episode.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
I love that, you know, people were having real trouble with the Doctor becoming a woman.
Yeah.
Whereas, actually, every time the Doctor regenerates, he was a completely different person.
Exactly.
And I think, you know, being a woman doesn't mean being, you know, different than a person.
Yeah.
That was what some people were trying to suggest, that
Yeah.
by making the Doctor into a woman, we lose all the important things that
Yeah.
make the Doctor the
Because a
Doctor.
woman can't be gadgety and clever.
It was literally a
and-
change of personality of, you know,
Every time the Doctor regenerates, the Doctor basically changes.
Yeah.
So
completely.
why was
in
this
every
changed?
way, even the
Big deal.
accent
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
You know,
We've had two different Scottish Doctors. We've had two different Northern Doctors.
No.
We've had pronounced posh Doctors. We've had
Doctors with outrageous fashion senses.
I think that's all of them.
older,
Pretty much.
younger.
Well,
You know,
older to younger to older to younger to
And
woman.
none of that mattered until suddenly change of gender changes everything.
And to be
which
honest,
it really doesn't.
No.
I had one hang up about the change of gender, and
Yeah,
that
here
was
we
that
go.
they were changing her gender, or rather changing the Doctor's gender, because they thought it would be more politically correct, and they thought that, oh, maybe that people think we're sexist.
If that had been the deal, I would have not watched.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
Tokenism, that's
I
what it is.
nothing. That was my one thing that hung in the back of my mind for a while until I started seeing
We all.
clips of Jodie Whittaker.
It was the clip of
Yeah.
the why are you calling me madam?
yeah,
Because you are.
yeah,
Am I? Does it suit me?
yeah.
And just that right
Yeah.
there. It was the fact that, and in fact, in the entire story of that first episode, it's the fact that the Doctor is now a woman is
Unimportant.
I don't think it's even really referenced properly.
Like
it's maybe
twice.
it's
Two
like
random-
spoken
yeah,
about,
yeah.
and then let's get on with the story.
It's because there's a lot of continuity between the personality of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor and the previous ones. As you said, you know, she is very reminiscent of Christopher Eccleston. I think there's a bit of Tennant in there as well, in terms of just the travelling eccentric, basically. And I
Yes.
think that is the heart of what matters about
Absolutely.
this character, not the gender.
It wasn't I think what the fear came down to was the fear that the Doctor wouldn't still be the Doctor.
I think
But the
it was,
Doctor is always the Doctor.
yeah, it was a fear of being a gimmick. It was a fear
Yes.
of always having that
If
hanging
it
over the
yes.
Doctor.
I'm the Doctor, but now I'm a woman, and wow, and that's not what
like
it was.
things like being overly conscious about appearance and making it sort of
All the female stereotypes.
female stereotype.
Yes.
That's how Stephen Moffat would write
Yeah,
it.
basically, and
But give
No,
the French,
that's a podcast for another
but
time.
give
Yeah.
the French, it was a load of bloody fuss about nothing. I mean, it wasn't even the first time Doctor was a woman, if you count Curse of Fatal Death, which
Oh,
you
that is
possibly
brilliant.
shouldn't.
It's a really
Oh.
funny romp.
Curse of Fatal Death.
Moving-
If you haven't seen it, you can see it on YouTube for free. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
comic relief Doctor
I
Who with
have
Rowan
to make it
Atkinson.
clear.
and I think
No, carry on.
I think that,
No,
that's why people also were scared about it, was because of that comic relief episode where the
Oh,
Doctor
yes.
turned into a woman. And that was comic relief. That was
Yes.
for fun.
It was clearly being played for laughs and over exaggerated.
Absolutely.
Exactly, and we were worried about that stereotype. That
Funny enough, by the way, we've discussed at length the issues that people supposedly have with the female Doctor. As far as I can recall, there wasn't nearly this many griping about the fact that the Master was suddenly a woman.
Well, the Master isn't the main character.
True.
well, I think that was because
Michelle
Um,
Gomez.
Michelle Gomez's performance.
Yeah.
True.
Because we didn't know it was going to happen beforehand, so it was shocked. By the time people didn't have time to think about it,
they
and
didn't
complain.
have time to complain about
Can
it.
you
They saw
imagine
it and
if
it was
if,
good.
if we had not, if the world at large had not found out that Jodie Whittaker was going to be the new Doctor until that
The
screening,
excitement.
that would have been extreme.
Oh, yeah.
Also, the views would have been probably
Incredible.
10 times bigger than they were. But
It would have
they,
been a shitstorm on the internet, though, let's be fair.
well, yes.
There would have been for anything you
But
ever do ever.
it's also something worth noting, by the way, that the views and reviews of this new episode, at the start of this new series, have been across the board very positive and very
Yes,
As
Even I'm
this one is
being-
going to
I
be.
high.
rarely
This
saw.
is predominantly.
I rarely saw a negative comment about the episode in general. I think everyone was really pleased.
Once
with it.
people saw not just Jodie's performance, although we're all big fans of Jodie's Doctor already,
Incredible.
it's all of the acting involved in that story, from the Doctor to the friends to the ancillary characters to the villain.
Who
And I'm
let's
going to
talk
talk
about for a bit.
We will talk
Oh,
about
actually,
the
can
next.
I put something in about the rest of the characters first?
Mm.
And that is tiny little flaw.
Mm.
And I know historically in Doctor Who this has been done really, 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 really badly.
Mm.
And this time I think it was done relatively well,
Mm.
but it could have been a bit better. And that is the reaction to death. Because
Oh,
what we saw in this
absolutely.
episode is Jodie Whittaker's Doctor being shocked by the brutality, seeing death for the first time with those eyes. And the other companions
That
were
was
sort of
alright.
a bit I mean, they were affected, but then they didn't kind of dwell on it. They didn't.
I mean,
They weren't shocked by it so much.
to be fair, Ryan at least has known death before. I believe it was called his
Yes.
mother.
Yes.
My one explanation I can give that I would give you for that, and it seems really sort of put upon to say it like this, but everybody reacts differently to death,
No,
as
that's
we
true.
all know.
Yeah.
But I will absolutely acknowledge your point.
Yeah.
I think it's a valid point to make.
Yeah, and it's something that Doctor Who isn't very good at, really. Like the idea that you can take, how old are they, like 23, something like that? Take a 20-year-old person and suddenly show them a body that has been murdered, had its jaw smashed open and a
And
tooth
a tooth
taken out,
ripped out.
and then 5 minutes later they're going to be chatting about their time
I'm
at school
surprised
or
nobody
whatever.
was like sick in
Yes,
the corner.
that-
That would have
yeah,
been quite
Exactly.
interesting.
But actually, what I did love is Jodie Whittaker's demonstration of that was perfect. That was exactly what I wanted. That was somebody seeing a really horrible death. And actually, the thing is, the fact that they didn't show it, I think almost made it more...
It's like in a horror film, isn't
It's
it?
like, it's PG.
It's that balance
but
between
it's-
horror
Yeah,
and gore, and
Yeah.
that's what people get confused.
yeah.
Horror. Take for instance the first Alien film.
Yeah.
That is a classic bit of cinema horror, and you barely see the alien for the majority
Yeah.
of that.
It's like 6 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In total of a nearly 2 hour long film. And then compare it to something like I don't know.
Alien vs Predator Requiem.
Yeah, I suppose. That in itself is festooned with gory type moments, and that's not a surprise that film flopped.
I will be talking about it at some point, possibly.
It's that balance between, I know the word, see what I was talking about earlier. What is it? It means gratuitous. That's
Yeah.
Yes.
Gratuity is the line in the sand that you measure all things.
We
Whether
need a
it's
thesaurus on this
violence
show.
or love, etc. But getting back to Doctor Who.
The alien was wonderful, I have to say.
A bit Nami, I thought, but in a good way.
It was creative. I mean,
The concept is a really creative idea.
I just
yes.
like the design of the armour and the fact that he
Yeah.
has a personality.
Yes,
other
I
than-
did like that.
I was a bit disappointed by the design of his face. to be
Yeah.
honest, because
Yes.
if you hadn't told me those were teeth, I wouldn't have thought, oh my gosh, he's got loads
Yeah.
of teeth added into his
It
face.
just seems a bit.
You know.
It's a bit silly, I thought.
It was a bit too. What do you think?
I don't know. I think Doctor Who has always had silly
Yeah.
monsters.
Yeah,
To not acknowledge that is a bit sort of,
Yeah.
holding your head up high,
Let's-
saying, no, Doctor Who has very sensible monsters and I won't
Let's
listen
just
to
not.
anything.
Lest we forget Peter Kay as the Absorbaloff.
Yes,
Again,
yes.
Which,
designed by a fan, but
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
very
but
silly.
that
to look.
worked because the fan, a child,
A
by
child
the way.
had designed that.
And
If somebody said,
It-
"Oh, actually, a child designed our
it
first monster," it was
is,
like,
it is
yeah.
first and foremost a family show,
It
and
is.
children
Yeah.
should be child-friendly things in there, and I don't think it should be all about the aliens and sci-fi and
True.
exactly.
So the point I was going to make about the alien, which I think you'll all stop and think about it, and that will make you laugh, is what you realise is it's actually a malevolent version of the Tooth Fairy.
Well,
See what I mean?
but that's killing the victims.
That wasn't funny.
It wasn't funny, was it, Judge?
I thought that. Come on, you have to laugh at Doctor Who,
Yeah.
even
Yes,
when
I
it's being really serious. You have to laugh at it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's silly even when it's the most serious.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And that's why it's.
I'm not saying it wasn't a bad. It was a bad monster. It was a good monster.
yes.
But
I like the
You
drone
seem to be-
thing. That was creative.
And I
kind
think
of-
any negative saying, oh well, it's like I don't know, trying to be more kid friendly. I think that's just something Doctor Who should do. Cause
Yeah.
You know
There
what?
is brutality in this episode.
You need
What's
silly
that?
stuff.
What I liked about this alien, it wasn't a Dalek, it wasn't a Cyberman, it wasn't a Weeping Angel, it wasn't a robot, which Stephen Moffat seems to like for some
It's
reason.
new.
It was new,
It's a
which
new
was
thing.
was good. I think that was it fit the entire motif of the episode, which was new going forward.
He literally chilled your skin.
Ooh.
Oh.
We would penalise the lady in the hat for making such a terrible pun, but never mind.
This from the person who brought us a Tooth Fairy.
You're coming out there, Judge.
Yeah.
So what did everyone think
Sum up,
of
yeah.
the episode? I mean, in a few
I'll go last because I am
few
supposed
words,
to.
Yeah.
what did you think of the
Go on then,
episode?
Judge.
What did I think about this episode?
Thoughts and feelings?
Yeah.
Feelings, I suppose I liked it. Thoughts, I liked it.
You liked it, basically.
I think the judge liked it. Yeah.
What's your sentence?
Man of plain
My
speaking.
sentence for this episode, to be the first of a new series, it is all as good, or if not better. If it gets any worse, I will be upset.
Seconded.
There will be
I
consequences.
think you all will.
Then
Serious
so
consequences.
I knew this was going to be good because I've seen Broadchurch.
Ah.
If you like the kind of grittiness in this, if you like the cinematography, if you like the sharp cuts to emphasise the shocking nature of what's going on, if you love all of that, watch Broadchurch. And it has David Tennant doing his normal accent in it, which
This is
I
now a
just
Broadchurch
love.
review.
Yeah, this is now a Broadchurch review.
Oh,
Broadchurch
for
is
God's
amazing. You
sake.
should watch it.
Anyway.
But yeah, so I knew it was going to work because it's got Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall, and of course it did. But, and this is, I'm always going to hate this about the first episode with the new Doctor. I don't know why. I think it started with Matt Smith's Doctor, this whole thing. If you make a big thing about the Doctor choosing their outfit.
It started the fourth.
Oh,
that's
the
very
changing
annoying.
room
Yeah,
scene.
the changing
The thing
room
is,
scene. I know, I've seen
really?
the fourth Doctors, and that was just like, it wasn't That didn't irritate me.
That was
but
one of the things I thought I'd rather they'd done another sort of David Tennant, he's in the TARDIS wardrobe.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
I
Yes,
just like,
but
well,
she didn't
she
have
didn't
the
have a
TARDIS
TARDIS.
wardrobe.
no, that's
Yeah.
why.
And I really liked that they chose a charity shop. I thought that was
Yeah,
quite
that
nice.
was good.
That
I did
I
see
liked,
it and think,
actually.
charity shop. I love charity shop.
We all do. So,
Bard?
but
Well, I really liked the episode. Again, I didn't watch the past few Moffat seasons just because
We'll
I
get to that later.
don't like his style
Yes,
of writing.
I
And
forgive
so
you.
I went to it with fresh eyes, really from Matt Smith, or I guess I watched a few Capaldi ones, but I watched it with a fresh perspective, and it was good because it did welcome in new fans, it did welcome in new people to the show, it didn't have a load of lore going back to that. It just started afresh, and I really liked that, and I liked that it went back to its roots, and it had some of Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, who I loved, and David Tennant's as well. It really did it for me. It made me feel like I'm into Doctor Who again.
Lady in a Hat.
Because I am a complete sucker, I actually sat and watched through all of the Moffat years, and I can say that this new episode is just such a good improvement. It's nice and refreshing, and it's just what Doctor Who is meant to be, which is good, corny fun. So if you're, as Bard said, if you're nostalgic for the Eccleston and Tennant years, then yeah, I'd give it a chance.
For the record, the Stephen Moffat years of Doctor Who have been sentenced to death.
Yeah, thankfully.
And
Or
finally,
possibly never to be watched again.
and
Either or.
finally, my 2 cents, as it were, from the Space Cadet, the one who's supposed to actually, all things sci-fi. I think it's what absolutely needed to be, a total regeneration for this show,
Aye.
if you forgive the puns. It absolutely gives a whole fresh presentation and attitude and view to the Doctor and to Doctor Who in general.
Did you like the new mix of the theme tune?
I did. I think it's a really the new episode, the first episode, is a perfect jumping on point for new fans. It's a welcoming pat on the back and even a gentle hug to older fans who've seen the new series, and for the few fans like myself who've seen both the classic series and the new series. I think it's absolutely a really solid piece of not just science fiction or Doctor Who, but television.
Yeah.
I will say, as good as it can be, that's the line, because that is the point they've set for themselves. Should they slip below that line, I would feel disappointed. But if this is how they have started, if this is how they're going to go on, or go forward, I should say, I'm all aboard, as it were.
Yeah, bring it on.
I think I feel safe to say that the overall rating we'd give this episode out of 10 would be 8.
Yeah, I'd say
8?
8.
7.85.
Well, I'm the one in charge of all science fiction, and I say 8, so there we
Yeah.
go. And that has been our review for The Woman Who Fell to Earth series. What series is it? Series
Who
11
knows? Who cares? But anyway,
Series 1 of a new era.
of Doctor Who.
I've been Judge Bookman.
I've been the Muddled Medic.
I've been Berserker Bard.
I've been the Lady in the Hat.
And I have been the Space Cadet. Roger and out.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.